Welcome or welcome back to my knitting, crochet, crafting channel. My name's Annie. Thank you for joining me, or welcome if this is your first video. I thought today we'd do a second podcast, running through a sort of catch up on what I've been doing for the last month and a bit. It's been a really busy month in regards to creating, lots of knitting, tiny bit of crocheting, but I've got lots of things that I've done, a few acquisitions. It's my birthday month, so I've been really lucky to get a bunch of new yarn and materials to continue crafting for my birthday, which is awesome. And it's also been the birthdays of a few of my loved ones too, so I've been making a lot of things, a lot of gift knits. I have been really into watching Fish Knit Fibers, I think is the name of their channel. They've got a great channel, I'll link them below, and I've been really loving their podcast episodes where they run through their finished objects, whips and acquisitions. So I'm going to be basing my setup on that because I think it just flows really nicely and I really like how they've structured that. But definitely go check them out. They have some of the coolest makes and just a really fun vibe. So let's start with finished objects. I have a few finished objects, and if I'm looking down, I've got a little knitting journal that I've started here where I'm just tracking like what I'm making. I've also been trying to get a bit better at using Ravelry and using the project feature and the queue, but I'm still sort of finding my feet with that, so I'll stick to the paper-based one for now. My first finished object, and I don't actually have a lot of them with me because, as I mentioned, a lot of them were gift knits, but my first one was a Christmas present for my older sister, and I made her an Olga jumper. So the Olga jumper is by Petite Knit. I knit it in a size small, and the yarn I used was Morris & Sons Empire 8-ply Superfine Merino in the colours olive and columbine. So it was a really pretty purple and green colorway together. And I knit this from November last year and finished this January this year. I think this turned out super, super cute. My sister loves it. She hasn't had a chance to wear it yet because it's still summer here, but it's also sort of made me want to make one for myself. And I've been seeing, I think it's Sydney Graham was talking about low contrasting stripe colors for an Olga sweater, which I think is such a cool idea. So I'm thinking maybe I'll make one of those, but you'll hear about, I've got a huge list of things that I need to do first, so that's not going to be anytime soon, but that is finished object number one. I really liked making that pattern. I think it has a really cool construction and it ended up looking really cool on the back with sort of like the shoulder construction and the collar, and just a really fun pattern, and I totally get the hype with it. And the next finished object was actually a crochet pattern. So I have started dabbling into filet crochet, and not in clothing yet, though I do think filet crochet clothing is super cool, but more so in tapestries and wall hangings. And I have been getting my sleeve done, my tattoos done, and I've been seeing this really awesome traditional style tattoo artist in Melbourne, and we've done a few half day and full day sessions, and she's just been really, really great, super awesome to work with, very talented. And I wanted to gift her a little filet crochet tapestry just as an extra thank you for all her time and effort and creativity. So I actually ended up using one of her flash designs, and I put it into Stitch Fiddle to turn it into a chart. And then I used some mercerized cotton, so just from Spotlight, DMC, Sibelius number 10 and 712, so it's sort of an off-white creamy color, and a 1.25 millimeter hook, so a very small hook. And I made this, put it up on the screen. So it's a sacred heart with some flames and flowers, and I just think it turned out so sick. And I framed it and gifted it to her, and I thought that was a really fun project to do. I really want to make one for myself. I'd love to stick in making tapestries of traditional tattoos, so I feel like a crawling panther or a tiger face, something like that would be so sick. So watch this space. Would definitely love to keep doing that. Again, not anytime soon because I've got so many other things that I need to do first, but that was super fun. I really enjoyed that project, and I think filet crochet is so cool. It's really fun to see it work up row by row, and you can start seeing the pattern coming together, and it's a super, super cool technique. So definitely something I want to do more of. My next finished object, This is so exciting, and this was actually the last video that I posted as well. And thank you so much if you watched it, for all the love on that video. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been really fun to read through everyone's beautiful comments and respond, and yeah, really, really cool. So thank you. But I made the Loupy Studio striped cardigan. Here she is. I'll put a better picture up too, but I am obsessed with this. I love it so much. I think it turned out so beautiful. Again, if you watched the video, I had a bit of a crash out with the colors, but I'm really happy with how it ended up looking all together. And I love the buttons that I used as well. So I mentioned in the video, these are just some buttons that I found at my local op shop. They had a really great selection, so I just bought some packs of some red and yellow ones a little while ago and got to use them for this. Yeah, this was such a fun pattern, really easy to make. I made this with my stash yarn, so a lot of it is Morris & Sons Empire 8-ply or 10-ply merino that was left over from presents that I'd made for Christmas, or just some random yarns that didn't have any labels on them, like I think this blue one down here, the navy, the darker purple on the sleeve here. Those were just random ones I had lying around, but I think this turned out really cool. Would recommend this pattern if you've been wanting to make it. Divya has a video tutorial that I found really helpful, particularly for, I struggled a bit at the start with, I feel like I always forget the make one lefts and make one rights, and I have to look it up every single time, and I don't know why, but I was just really struggling with it for this pattern, and the video tutorial was really helpful to knit along with a little bit. So yeah, really great, easy, friendly pattern to do. This one I started in December 2025, and I finished this on the 27th of January, so not long ago. Blocked it, and because it's been a bit warm here, it dried pretty quickly. It dried in like a day or so as well. So yeah, that one. My next finished object is this very big looking beanie that I made for my husband. So we're going overseas and it's gonna be really cold where we're going. So I've made him a scarf out of this yarn, and I had heaps left over because I overbought. It's I believe, have I got it here? Yeah, 2 of 1's Hue and Me in Werewolf, and I used a 7.5mm circular needles to make this. And this took me a day to make, like a couple of hours. I sort of adapted the daily beanie pattern. I think it's from Pearl Soho, I think. And yeah, it turned out pretty nice with the decreases up the top. But yeah, this is super cute. It's gonna be very warm for him for the cold. And then I made myself a little beanie. So I made myself this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous beanie here. I adapted a fisherman beanie pattern, and because I made a couple of those for my brother and brother-in-law for Christmas, and I just loved how the decreases looked up the top. And this was a very special make because it was made from my first ever noro yarn purchase for myself. And I bought the Silk Garden Solo yarn in the colorway Omitana, and I bought it from this beautiful yarn store in Melbourne called Little Woolly Makes, and they just had a great selection and really, really lovely stuff in there as well. It turned out like this, and I just made it a little bit longer than the pattern suggested because I like having a brim on my beanie like that, but I just think it looks amazing. I think this colorway is so gorgeous. I feel like it'd be really nice to make matching mittens with this too, but I won't get ahead of myself. Yeah, it's there. But yeah, really happy with that and can't wait to wear this one here. Again, this one took me a little bit longer because I actually underbought. I thought I could get it done with one ball, but I couldn't. I needed like 1.5. So it ended up taking me about like 10 days to do this. But I think altogether, if I had the yarn that I needed, it probably would have just taken me a couple of days. I love after work, I sort of just sit and, you know, work on my knitting. It brings me a lot of joy, and I find it very meditative as well to do that after work, and very calming. So that's what I like to do. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of that this month because I've had lots of projects that I've been wanting to get done for others and a few for myself as well. Then I think this is my final finished object. Yes, my final finished object is, this is a very recently finished object, is this gorgeous jumper I'll put a better picture up there. It's not blocked yet, so I won't put in a try on yet, I don't think. Maybe I will, we'll see. But this is a free design by Drops, and it's called the Midnight Glow pattern. And I knit the size small, and I knit it in Fiddlesticks Pepin 10 in cream. And this took me about 2 weeks to make because I sort of crammed this on a lot because it's for my mum's birthday, which is literally tomorrow. But I've got to block it first before I give it to her, but I really wanted to get it done, so it wasn't going to be too late to give to her. Mum wanted a cream, like basic jumper, and I showed her a few patterns and she picked the Midnight Glow pattern. But I found this pattern okay. It definitely doesn't hold your hand. Like, it took me a bit of time to sort of decipher and work through, but I also modified it a little bit. So the pattern itself is just a basic raglan construction, and I did start doing that, and then I think I got like a few rows down after the collar, and it was looking really square because there was no shaping on the back. So I actually ripped it back to the collar, and then I added in, I think I want to say like 5 or 6 rows of German short rows up the back here just to give it a bit of shaping, and that made a world of difference. It looks so much better than it did without the shaping there. And yeah, then the rest of it worked out pretty quickly. It's a 10 ply yarn, I think. So it was a pretty fast construction. I really love how the sleeves are done on this with the 2x2 ribbing, and then just some stockinette stitch with, and how it looks like when it curls up there as well. I thought what was really cool about this pattern too is they actually get you to cast on when you start the 2x2 ribbing on the sleeve. So you do go down to a smaller needle, but then you cast on, and what that does is it just makes it so it doesn't cinch in too much on the bottom. Like I said, I do have to block this out, and I'm hoping this will grow a little bit. Like, I'm gonna stretch it out. The sleeve length is perfect, but I just really kind of want to stretch out the bottom a little bit and just make it a little bit more oversized. But Mum did want a smaller size, so it was a bit more close fitting than a really baggy sweater would be. But that is my final finished object for a very busy month of knitting and crafting. Okay, next we have my whips. So I have 2 whips at the moment. I feel like I usually have more on the go. Like, I'm not a very monogamous knitter and crocheter. I tend to like jump around to 50 different projects at one time, but right now I only have 2, but they are, I guess, like, one's a more complex and time-consuming project, and the other one is probably a bit more of a mindless knit, which I think is good for me to have a bit of a balance. So the first one is actually a really exciting test knit for one of my favorite pattern designers and YouTubers, beacreativeknits. She is literally the coolest person and designer, and I feel very, very grateful to be a part of the test knitting group for her Tutti Frutti tee. I'll put the pictures up of the 3 that she made. This is such a sick project, and I'm so excited. So I cast this on this week when my yarn, I had to order in some yarn, but I also needed to get some needles, which took me a little bit longer to acquire. I had to find some smaller needles, and my local Spotlight wasn't stocking it, and I usually work on Saturdays and a lot of the yarn stores are closed on Sundays, so I couldn't go to a yarn store as well, but we got there. We found a Spotlight that stocked it, which was fantastic. So all I have at the moment is the collar. So I did this yesterday and it's looking really good. Like, I don't think you probably can't see any of this. I'll hold it a bit closer, but that's where we're at. We've got the collar done. It's a folded collar, and it used a new cast on technique that I've never used before. I won't give too much away because I highly recommend when the pattern's released to go grab it yourself and have a read through. It's a fantastic pattern so far. Just even with the starting bit, it helped me with this new technique that I've never used before, and I'm very impressed with myself. But yeah, I am knitting the tee in this gorgeous blue color, and I'm going to do the orange on mine. I'm undecided if I'll do an orange or use some purple yarn to make it a plum. We'll see when I've got the tee all together. But I am using the recommended yarn, which is Bellissimo 4-ply merino, and I bought it in the colorway denim. I thought this was a really nice blue and would go really well with like jeans or the other pants that I have as well. So I'm making a size small, and yeah, started this yesterday and really keen to keep going on this. My thoughts of tackling it, so I've done one section and I'll sort of do it in sections because I'll be coming across a lot of maybe newer techniques that I haven't used before, and I really want to put in a lot of effort into this one because I've been so excited to do this and so excited to have this and give feedback on the test knit process and everything. But yeah, that's my first whip. And my second and final whip is a Sophie hood for myself. So I have made a Sophie hood for my mum. I made her one in a really pretty lilac color, but I really wanted one for myself, and I just haven't had the time to cast it on, and this week I really wanted to cast it on for myself. I want to have it for when I go overseas for my uni studies, because as I mentioned, it's going to be cold. So obviously I've got my noro beanie, but I really want the hood as well, and I have been desperately wanting to make it in a dark brown because of one of the inspo pics from Petite Knit herself in the dark brown. But I have been really struggling to actually find a merino wool in a dark brown. I found a Bellissimo one that was in a gorgeous dark brown, but it was quite expensive, and I have been trying to be very harsh and on myself with my spending with yarn. So I didn't get that, and I ended up just going for a Spotlight yarn, which is just a 4 Seasons 8-ply merino in the colorway Teddy. It's a bit cheaper. I have to say, I've used this yarn a fair bit. It's not my favorite. I do find it gets pilly and it does feel a little bit scratchy compared to other merino wools that I've worked with, but for the price point, it's okay, and the color is beautiful. It's the perfect dark brown that I wanted. So I'm not too bothered by that. I think for what it is, I'm very happy with it. But yeah, this has been a couple of days of work. I'm making the size medium for this hood, and I want it to be quite long to wrap around like in the picture that she has, but that's where I'm at so far. It's been really fun. I feel like after doing it once, it's very mindless for me the second time around, which is really good. But yeah, those are my 2 whips that I have at the moment. Last but certainly not least, acquisitions. So I've talked through a fair few of my acquisitions because I was doing a lot of purchasing and creating at the same time for a lot of my projects, but I'll run through a few of the ones that I've already sort of talked about and then go through some others as well. As I mentioned, February is my birthday month, so I do have a lot of acquisitions. Like, this is not normal for me at all. I feel like I've gone a really long time having minimal acquisitions and just using my stash yarn, and then I feel like there's so much in this video, but I really, like, please know this is not normal. A lot of these have been gifted, and I'm very, very lucky for that, or a lot of them I've purchased for other people's presents and gifts. This is very unusual for me to have so many acquisitions, but yeah, feeling really lucky because it's been really fun to explore some new yarns. But first acquisition was my Noro Silk Garden Solo in Omitana that I used for my beanie. Really loved it. As I mentioned, my first Noro yarn, my first silk yarn that I've been working with, and it was divine. I feel like I need to use more Noro yarn now. I would love eventually to make like a full jumper, not in the Silk Garden Solo because it's quite like a small yarn. I feel like that would just take ages, but I'll put on the one on the screen because I'm completely blanking on it. But in winter, later in the year, I would love to make a full jumper out of some Noro yarn. Next one was Pepin 10-ply in cream for my mum's jumper. This is my first time using the Pepin 10-ply yarn, and it's by Fiddlesticks, and it is just such a nice fiber. It's so squishy. I feel like it's the best way to describe it. It's so squishy, it's so soft, not scratchy at all. I just really liked it. It's a beautiful merino fiber. I feel like it's definitely going to be my go-to, and very reasonably priced as well. It's not one that's sold at Spotlight. You're in Australia. I sourced it from a yarn store called Crafty Cottage, and they had a great selection of colors. Unfortunately, they didn't have a dark brown. Otherwise, I would have used that for my Sophie hood, but definitely one that I'm going to use in the future. Really, really liked that fiber. Next was the Bellissimo 4-ply that I'm using for my Tutti Frutti tester tee, and this is 100% merino extra fine machine washable wool, and again, really squishy, beautiful fiber. It is a little bit pricier than the Pepin Fiddlesticks one, but it feels so nice. It's so nice, and the colorway, like I mentioned, is denim for this one, and they have such a nice range of colors. I love their chartreuse one as well. I feel like, again, definitely another one that I'll be using in future projects, and a new one for me. I haven't used Bellissimo yarn before, so this is exciting, but I'm really liking this one as well. Next acquisition, as I mentioned, was the 4 Seasons Pure Merino in 8-ply for my Sophie scarf. Just bought a few balls of this to make up the Sophie hood, sorry, not the Sophie scarf, and this is in the colorway Teddy. I talked about this one already. It's not my favorite merino wool. I do find it a little bit scratchy, and I feel like, yeah, as I mentioned, it peels and it has a lot of like different, it's not like a halo, I wouldn't call it a halo, it just looks a bit scratchy. I feel like it collects a lot of dust on it for whatever reason. It is 100% merino as well, but it's just not as soft as the other ones I mentioned, but really do like the color, and it's very affordable and accessible too. My next one was a birthday present to myself. After this birthday present to myself, I put myself on a ban from buying stuff for me, but I have always been wanting to try knitting for Olive, and I feel like my Australian located people will understand it's not super accessible for us here unless you have a yarn store that stocks it. And I found when I was in Little Willy Makes that they do stock it, and I got so excited. And I talked about this t-shirt a couple of videos ago, but I've been really wanting to make tee number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear in a bigger size, and really oversized tee to wear in the springtime, summer when it cools into autumn. I mean, as you can tell, love like a knitted tee. This is just one that I got from the op shop, but I adore it, and I thought it'd be the perfect excuse to try knitting for Olive. So I bought myself knitting for Olive merino wool in Midnight. I took so long to choose the color I wanted, and a lot of the colors were actually sold out of the amount that I needed to make the tee, because I did buy the amount that I needed for this tee in mind. I ideally wanted to use, can't remember the name, but I will put it on the screen, but unfortunately they only had 2 balls left of that one. But either that colorway or a darker one, and they did have the amount I needed in Midnight, and honestly I feel like I will wear this so much, this color. I do tend to wear a lot of darker colors. It'd be perfect to wear to work too. So yeah, this is a really exciting purchase, my little birthday present to myself. And I'm itching to cast this on, but I'm not letting myself cast it on until I have finished my test knit and my Sophie hood, or at least one of those, and then this is going to be the next one that I cast on, but very excited. And then next is a purchase again for someone else's present. So I know I talked about my sister's Christmas present was the Olga sweater, but her birthday is in May, which is a little while away. But we took my mum out for lunch for her birthday. We went shopping afterwards, took my mum clothes shopping, and we were in the city, so I told my sister, like, let's go to Morris & Sons in the city so she can pick out the yarn that she wanted, because she asked me to make her a skinny scarf for her birthday, and I thought it'd be better if we just go in together and she could have a feel of the yarns and really pick out the colors that she actually wanted, so she could see what they looked like in person. So we had a look around, and she picks out the coolest colorways, I have to say. Really like ones that I need to like venture more out. Like her colorways are always so nice. Like that Olga sweater colorway was so pretty, and these ones are so nice that she picked out too. But her skinny scarf, I'm not going to use a pattern for it. She picked out 2 colors to stripe it. One is a Kid Silk Haze Rowan, and then just a Morris & Sons Empire 4-ply merino. And I'm going to hold these together, and these are the colors. Aren't they just gorgeous? Like, the purple and the dark red. I love this red color, but I feel like this is gonna look so cool. And I'm gonna make a really skinny scarf. I also did have to purchase my first pair of shorties because I'm a DPN hater. I hate DPNs. I always lose stitches. I'm learning how to use, I don't like magic loop, but I'm learning how to use the traveling loop for my test knit with the Tutti Frutti tee. But I have also been wanting to try shorties. So I ended up just getting a pair of shorties while I was there to make this scarf on. But yeah, this is, as I mentioned, super fine merino in 4-ply that I'm gonna hold with the Rowan Kid Silk Haze. I wasn't sure what fibers I was going to use, but at Morris & Sons they actually had an example knitted up where they held kid silk with a 4-ply yarn, and it looked really nice, had a beautiful halo around it, and my sister could see that and feel that, and she liked that as well, so that was really good. And this, from my calculations, there should be enough for the skinny scarf that she'd like. My aim is I'm going to cast on in the round, because my thing with scarves where you use stockinette, and especially like one where the fibers are so thin as well, is it's going to curl so much. And I know she wants a skinny scarf, but that just ends up being like this tiny little shoelace of a scarf, and that's not what she wants. So I'm going to cast it in the round and then seam up the edges. I had my grandma with me as well, and she's the one who taught me how to knit. So we were sort of problem solving together, and that's actually how she taught me to make scarves, is casting them in the round if you want the stockinette feature, because also when it rolls up you can see the underside where the pearl stitches are, and that's not the look that we're going for this scarf. So grandma thought that would be a good thing to do as well there. And while we were there too, another little acquisition, not for now, but while we were there, my mum and grandma wanted me to pick out some really nice yarn, because I mentioned to them that I had always been wanting to try a couple of brands. I've been wanting to try King Fibers and Hedgehog Fibers, and Morris & Sons stocks King Fibers. So I picked out, I'll put it on the screen, the ones that I picked out, but I picked out a beautiful dark colorway of their, I think it's a silk mix fiber, very floaty, very airy, and that's going to be for Christmas, and I am so excited. Again, a little one that I'm going to make myself, maybe a beanie or some mittens or something. But yeah, really fun, and enjoyed looking through the colors and picking that out. It's just a beautiful colorway, so very excited to try that. And then final acquisition, this is a birthday present from my mum to me. I don't have all of it here, some of it's still arriving. My husband helped ordered, he ordered it all for my mum, which is very sweet. But I have been wanting to get into making my own yarn. So I've been saving a lot of my scrap yarn, and I love watching Kate B's Mini Grew Studios, and I also love watching Loupy Studios, and both of them are amazing at spinning their own yarn. And I've been doing a lot of research into drop spindles. I know it's a good starting point rather than going all out for a wheel when you're a beginner, and I also don't have a lot of storage at this stage, so drop spindles just much more reasonable for me to get. And also looking into purchasing, I know there's Rolags and roving wool as well that you can get. A lot of Etsy sellers, a lot of Australian Etsy sellers dye their own and have beautiful colorways. So for my birthday, my mum got me all the supplies that I need to spin my own wool. So what hasn't arrived is the carding board. So basically looks like a giant pet brush sort of thing, and then like a mini pet brush, and you card onto that to make the Rolex to spin in. But what has arrived is, there goes one of the packets of the wool, but a little drop spindle here that I've got, and I've been watching some tutorials on that. Let me just go get the one that fell down. I also got some merino wool roving from a seller called Felting You on Etsy, and it's hand painted, and I just got a basic natural colorway and then one called aloe vera. And just open this up, but I was having a feel of it before. It's so soft, and I thought I'd use this on the carding board as sort of like base colors or adding a bit of dimension along with the scraps that I have. And then for my present from my mum, she also got me one more. This is a Lucky Dip roving, that's merino wool and Corriedale from Australia. 125 grams of a Lucky Dip dye lot, and isn't this just gorgeous. The colors in here, oh my goodness, I'm so excited, like how it blends into each different color. Again, look at that, it's divine. I'll put the place that I got this one from. I think it was a different company to Felting You, but again, it was on Etsy. These came so quickly as well, and both shops have great reviews. I can't wait to make my own yarn from this. I feel like that's going to be my next vlog, is going to be making some yarn with me, but the carding board should arrive soon. And then yeah, isn't this like the coolest present for my birthday from my mum? I can't wait to make my own yarn, and I think I want to make mittens first. I've had my eye on, they're called the No mittens. I can't remember who they're by, but I'll put it on the screen. I really want to make those, and I think maybe I'll make those out of my own yarn. I feel like my yarn's going to be a bit like wonky and wobbly to start with while I get used to the drop spindle, but I'm really excited for that. So that's everything from me for my second podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you've been working on, any patterns that you've been making. Also, please, any suggestions for spinning my own yarn as well. I am all ears. If you've got any channels that you really like that give tutorials, or any recommendations that I should do before I get started on this, would love to hear it. But otherwise, thank you so much. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you soon.